The voice didn't simply resonate in the courtroom. It burst out of it, slicing through the thick air like a knife through cloth. A handful of individuals in the gallery leaned forward immediately. Others stiffened, their hands mid-mouth. In the back of the room, a chair groaned with the readjusted weight of a man who wasn't as comfortable as he'd thought. All eyes turned to the woman who had spoken. Janelle Brown. She was standing tall, or, at least, as tall as her trembling legs could manage, in a navy blazer that was a bit too large for her slender build, as if she had borrowed it for the day. In her white-knuckled grasp was a faded, bulging folder. One paper's corner stuck out, threatening to break free, but she held it trapped in her fingers, like it was the last she had to hold on to. Kody Brown reclined in his chair in the other direction. He wasn't smiling precisely. No, it was more of a smirk, the sort a man wears when he thinks the storm is going to sail on by him. But his fingers were another thing. They beat out a nervous rhythm upon the smooth wooden table, the sound stifled but consistent enough to be picked up by anyone who was listening. At the bench, Judge Morrison, a silver-haired woman in her late 60s, with a no-nonsense bun, leaned her glasses down the bridge of her nose. The courtroom was so still, you could hear the distant whir of the ceiling fans above. "Proceed, Mrs. Brown." Janelle's lips opened, and for a moment, nothing came out. The shake of her breath could be heard, but it wasn't weakness. It wasn't fear. It was something harder, keener. Rage that had lain underground for years, now raring to explode. She looked in the direction of the gallery. Christine Brown was seated in the second row, leaning forward, eyes wide, her hands folded so tightly in each other that her knuckles matched Janelle's. Robin Brown was a few seats down, evading everyone's eye, her focus on one crack in the tile floor. Janelle took a deep breath, one which seemed to tighten the air in the room more with each passing second. "Years I kept quiet," she started, her tone steadying with each phrase. "I said it wasn't my affair. That I didn't have proof. That perhaps I didn't want to know the entire truth." She swallowed, gaze glinting on Kody. "That all alters today." Her fingers manipulated the latch on the folder, the snap ringing out in the silence like a gunshot. The top flap opened, and a stack of photographs lay within, some shiny, some worn, all with a reality that the world had yet to realize. She advanced, the click of her heels ringing out louder than it should in the vast room, and set the stack down gently in front of the judge. That was when Kody's attorney, a thin, hawk-faced man in a tailored charcoal suit, shot to his feet so fast his chair rolled backward. "Objection, Your Honor. This evidence wasn't submitted prior to..." The judge's hand lifted, palm out, halting him mid-sentence. Her tone was calm, but the weight in it was undeniable. "I'll allow it. Continue, Mrs. Brown." Janelle's eyes broke away from the judge and landed on the jury. 12 strangers who didn't understand the years of domination, the gaslighting, the manipulation, but would soon understand it in all its nakedness. She didn't hurry. She let them wonder as her hand crept over the photos, her fingers caressing the shiny surface of the top one. "Those photographs," she started, voice low but crystal clear, "indicate Kody wasn't where he claimed to be the evening Garrison passed away." The air seemed to have been punched out of the room. Gasps erupted, guttural and unedited. Someone breathed quietly. "Oh my God." The thud of a pen falling off a table cut into the shocked silence that followed. For an instant, every eye darted over to Kody. The smirk had vanished. His lips formed into a taut, colorless line. His gaze narrowed, flicking between the judge, the jury, and the woman who now represented his biggest danger. Christine covered her mouth. Robin tensed but didn't raise her eyes. Even the court reporter hesitated for half a beat before her fingers took up their furious tapping once more. Kody finally spoke. "Ridiculous," he sneered, slouching toward his lawyer. The words were soft, for the man's ears alone, but in the pin-drop silence, even a whisper was audible. Janelle didn't waver. She didn't even blink. She just slid the first photograph across the judge's bench instead. The judge took it, furrowing her brow as she examined the picture. In the photograph, the date at the bottom corner was 10:56 p.m. The evening Garrison's body was found. The photo depicted a man clearly identifiable as Kody Brown, standing in front of a closed metal storage locker. In his right hand, he grasped a black duffel bag, with its zipper stretched tight as it contained something large within. The judge's gaze darted up to Kody. He squirmed uncomfortably in his chair, but remained silent. Janelle's voice grew loud. This was snapped by a security camera less than an hour before the medical examiner thinks Garrison received his deadly wound. Kody informed police, and this court, he was at Robin's house the whole evening. This picture confirms that was a lie. The words "that was a lie" hung in the air, resonating in every part of the room. Kody's lawyer cleared his throat, his voice strained. Your Honor, this is circumstantial at best. We don't know what's in that bag. We don't. But the judge didn't look away from Kody. Mr. Brown, do you deny that this is you in the picture? Kody's jaw clenched. He let the silence linger for a few long moments before finally saying, "No, that's me." A murmur ran through the gallery. Christine appeared as though she might break down in tears. Robin at last glanced up, her complexion white and inscrutable. Janelle edged a step nearer the jury, her eyes locked firmly. "We can all find common ground on one thing," she stated, her words cool and sharp as a razor. "The truth doesn't live in secured storage facilities." A silence dropped over the room once more, the soft scratching of a juror's pencil as they took notes. Somewhere in the hallway beyond, the muted slamming of an elevator door drifted in. But in here, none of that mattered. What was seared into everyone's memory was the sight. Kody Brown, a black duffel bag, and a lie that had just shattered before 12 jurors. No one stirred. No one uttered a word. The moment hung in a heavy, awkward silence. Finally, Judge Morrison resettled back in her chair. "Go on, Mrs. Brown." Janelle never took her eyes off Kody as she inserted her hand into the folder once more. "Oh, I will." And then she produced the second photograph. To be continued. The second photograph glided across the judge's bench. Her thin but firm fingers picked it up cautiously, as if holding something delicate. This one was more defined than the first. It revealed the same man, Kody Brown, standing alongside the unlocked storage unit. The overhead light in the unit shone a dull yellow, creating shadowed stripes on the concrete floor. And there, at the border of the light, was the same black duffel bag, now unzipped. The dim shadow of something hard and rectangular within. The timestamp was 11:28 p.m. Janelle's tone didn't quaver. This was taken less than 15 minutes prior to the coroner's estimated time of death. She addressed the jury directly now. Her words measured, each one meant to strike with the impact of a hammer blow. Kody Brown informed this court he never left Robin's residence that evening. He swore in court that he had no part in what happened to Garrison. But these pictures tell a different story. Kody's lawyer stood once more, albeit more slowly this time. His hands rubbed his tie, his face meticulously expressionless. "Your Honor, these pictures will be taken into account." Judge Morrison interjected, her voice leaving no room for debate. "Sit down, Mr. Callahan." The lawyer sat. Kody had now leaned forward, arms crossed on the table, staring at Janelle as if he was attempting to will her into silence. But Janelle did not even blink in his direction. She put her hand back into the folder once more. This time she produced a sheaf of papers clipped together neatly. The slight metallic sound of the paperclip being undone sounded agonizingly loud in the still room. She handed the documents to the bailiff, who took them to the judge and then to the jury. "These," she said, her tone adopting a braced crispness, "are Kody's phone records for the evening of Garrison's death." One of the jurors, a tan blazer-wearing man, narrowed his eyes over the document before him. Another, a woman whose hair was pulled into a tight bun, started scribbling notes furiously. Janelle walked them through it like a teacher leading a class through an impossible problem. At 11:42 p.m., the precise moment the coroner thinks Garrison received his fatal wound, Kody's phone made a call. Not to me, not to Christine, not to Robin, but to a number under the name Daniel T. Carver. A number by police report, of a prepaid cell phone bought for cash 3 days before Garrison passed away. A murmur moved through the courtroom. Christine's eyebrows furrowed, her lips compressed. Robin shifted, her arms crossing, her eyes jumping from Kody to the jury to the floor. Kody's jaw was clenched, and for the first time since Janelle began talking, he averted his eyes. His gaze locked somewhere around the ceiling. The prosecutor shifted forward in his chair. But he didn't interrupt. He didn't have to. Janelle was working his job for him. That number, she went on, had never been dialed by Kody previously to that evening, and has not been dialed since. It only existed for that one conversation. Kody broke his silence, his tone abrupt. So what? A wrong number? A scam call? You don't know what that was about. Janelle interrupted him, her voice steady but deadly. You're right, Kody. I don't know. But you do, and you've been lying about it since the night it happened. The jurors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A man at the back of the gallery swore under his breath before being hissed into silence by the bailiff's glare. Janelle inched toward the jury box, speaking softly as if sharing a confidence. Truth doesn't hide in coincidence. Truth doesn't hide in unregistered phones and late-night storage unit excursions. The truth is standing right here, challenging you to look at what's been in front of us the whole time. Her words hung suspended in the air, weighty and impenetrable. Kody inched toward his lawyer once more, muttering something too quiet to catch. But his face gave him away. The mask was starting to slip. His eyes flicked about. His hands curled. His breathing had accelerated. The judge's throat was cleared. Mrs. Brown, do you have anything else to add at this time? Janelle's eyes never left Kody's as she replied. Yes, Your Honor. And my last piece of evidence is not on paper. It's a witness. Kody's head whipped around so abruptly it was violent. His mouth opened, but he said nothing. He said nothing. A witness, she said again. Who saw Kody the night of the disappearance? And who observed what he was holding? Gasps spread once more, this time more loudly. Christine's eyes went wide. Robin's fingers clenched in her arms until her knuckles were white. The judge's face stiffened. Very well, summon your witness. Janelle wheeled around to the double doors made of heavy wood at the rear of the courtroom. The bailiff moved to one side as the doors creaked open slowly, the screech of their hinges making the room shiver. And out of the doorway stepped a person nobody had anticipated. Kody's breathing stopped with a visible, audible gasp. His face paled, reddened, paled again. It was Mary Brown. The atmosphere in the courtroom changed when Mary Brown walked in through the doors. Nothing was said, but the silence was deafening in weight. She wasn't supposed to be in the building. For weeks, everybody thought Mary would keep her distance, remain aloof as she had so many times previously when the Brown family's darkest secrets were exposed. But here she was, dressed in a tailored black blazer and an expression that could cut glass. Kody's lips formed words no one could hear, his eyes fixed on her as if he could simply freeze her in place by glaring hard enough. Mary didn't glance at him. Not once. She descended the aisle in measured steps, her heels striking the tile like a metronome. Every step rang out, steady and deliberate, as if she were marking time with the thudding hearts of all the people in the room. She sat down on the witness stand, put her hands in her lap, and looked straight at the judge. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Asked the bailiff. I do. Her voice was steady, icy, the sort of voice you speak when the choice has been made and there's no going back. The prosecutor moved forward first. Mrs. Brown, can you explain to the court where you were on the night of April 17th? Mary's eyes did not falter. I was driving home from my sister's house, just outside Flagstaff. It was late, about 11. I took the long route because I wanted to have some time to think. Think about what? A flash of something, guilt, rage, crossed her face. About whether or not I was finished protecting people who didn't deserve it. Kody shifted in his seat, his lawyer leaning in and speaking into his ear. The prosecutor nodded again. And did you notice anyone on that drive? Yes. The room leaned in closer. Who did you see? Mary's gaze flicked to Kody for the first time, and when she did, it felt like looking down the wrong end of a gun. I saw him. Kody Brown. The gallery murmured immediately and loudly. The judge slammed her gavel once. Order. The prosecutor took a step forward. Where did you see Mr. Brown? Mary replied readily. Near the old Miller's Creek trailhead. He wasn't alone. That caught everyone's attention. Even the court reporter hesitated for the briefest moment before continuing her furious typing. Who was with him? She drew a deep breath, as if preparing herself to take the shot that was being aimed. A stranger. Tall, dark-haired, with a battered green jacket. I later learned his name was Travis Hale, and I read in Garrison's journal that he had spoken of him. The jurors' faces twisted in discomfort. What was Mr. Brown and Mr. Hale doing? Said the prosecutor. Mary's response was hesitant, but each word packed the punch of a sledgehammer. They were carrying a black duffel bag, the same bag you've seen in those photographs. It looked heavy, and they were walking toward the woods. Kody's chair scraped loudly against the floor as he stood. This is insane. You're lying. You've hated me for years, and now you're just making things up. Sit down, Mr. Brown. The judge barked. But Mary did not even flinch. Her gaze remained locked on the prosecutor, her voice unwavering. I watched them walk into the woods. An hour later, I was told that Garrison was missing. Christine clapped her hand over her mouth. Robin's eyes welled up, but her eyes remained locked on the table in front of her. The prosecutor posed the last question slowly, allowing each word to hang. Mrs. Brown, are you absolutely sure it was Kody you saw that night? Mary didn't blink. I'd know him anywhere. I've known him for more than 30 years. It was him. Silence. The kind of silence that precedes the roof caving in. The prosecutor sat back, smug. But Kody's attorney leapt to his feet, striding toward the witness stand with a well-practiced smile. Mrs. Brown, he started, his voice oozing with feigned politeness. You've had arguments with my client in the past, haven't you? That's a fair statement. And you're not together with him anymore. No, not in any manner that counts. The lawyer walked slowly. So we can say you might have resentment towards him? Mary scrunched up her face. Resentment doesn't alter what I saw. He turned his head. But it might cloud your memory. Couldn't it? Not when the picture is seared into your brain. The attorney's smile wavered. You can't establish the bag you witnessed is the same one in those photographs. It's the same bag. Her tone was absolute. The attorney floundered, realizing he was running out of steam. In this Travis Hale, you know he exists. Yes. And so does Garrison's diary. That final word dangled in the air, menacing. The judge leaned forward. I think that's sufficient, Mr. Callahan. The lawyer sat back down, clearly infuriated. Mary descended from the witness stand but stood just out of Kody's reach before giving him a glance that made the cameras snap. Not a look of hatred, but of something colder. Finality. And for the first time that day, Kody Brown looked genuinely rattled. The echo of Mary's last words still hung in the air, when Kody suddenly shoved his chair back and rose to his feet. The legs of the chair scraped the floor with a sharp screech that made several jurors flinch. His voice, when it came, was sharp, almost feral. This is insane. These women, he jabbed a finger toward Janelle and Mary, are bitter, jealous, and desperate to drag me down. You're all falling for their lies. Mr. Brown, sit down. Judge Morrison's voice cut through, but he either didn't hear her or didn't care. He turned toward the jury, his hands raised as if he were pleading with them personally. Think I'd hurt my own son? You think I'd sit down? The judge snapped, her gavel cracking against the wood with a sound like a gunshot. Kody froze for a second, his jaw working as if he wanted to get it all out. Then with a reluctant jerk, he sank down into his chair, gasping for air. His face burned hot red, beads of sweat gleaming along his hairline. Janelle looked at him with a face that wasn't anger per se. It was more pointed, icier. She had witnessed Kody rage before, but this wasn't anger. This was fear masquerading as fury. She rose calmly, her hand still on the witness stand edge. Her voice was calm, controlled. Tell them, Kody. Tell them what was in that bag. Kody's head jerked back to her, eyes clenched. There was nothing in that bag. Liar, she said, matter-of-factly. A shiver ran through the courtroom. The judge's eyes flicked between them, but she didn't stop her. Janelle moved closer to the prosecution table, eyes fixed on Kody like a cat stalking its prey. It was Garrison's diary, wasn't it? She declared, her voice cutting across the room. You wanted to burn it before anybody could see what he wrote about you. The gallery gasped in unison. Kody's lips parted, but nothing emerged. His eyes darted to his lawyer, who sat immobile for once, his pen still in his hand. The prosecutor stood up. "Mr. Brown," he repeated, speaking in a low, steady tone, "did you take your son's things away from where they were before the police were called?" Kody's breathing accelerated. His chest rose and fell jerkily. He gazed down at the tabletop ahead of him, fingers curled around its edge so tightly that the tendons in his hands became visible like cords. "Answer the question," the prosecutor insisted. Kody's lips formed half words, but nothing that made sense escaped them. The silence hung so long the room could feel its heavy weight, even the whir of the ceiling fans. And then, very quietly, almost too quietly to hear, Robin spoke a word from beside him. No one else heard it, but what she said made Kody's eyes pop wide. It wasn't surprise. It was the sort of shock that occurs when a person who's always been there beside you suddenly turns and walks away. Janelle saw it. So did Christine, whose eyes danced back and forth between them, picking up on the change. The prosecutor stood up straight. "Mr. Brown, you've been asked a straightforward question by this court. Did you take your son's things?" Kody's Adam's apple bounced as he swallowed. His voice cracked when it finally emerged. I didn't," but the words were left hanging, thin and empty. Janelle didn't react, didn't flinch. She knew the man before her was out of ways to lie, and that meant one thing. It was the end. The courtroom air was heavier now, as if the walls themselves sensed that the truth would finally emerge. Kody slumped forward, his fingers intertwined so tightly the veins on his knuckles protruded. Across from him, Janelle's eyes were fixed on him, no longer with rage, but with an odd glacial calm.
Oh.
Judge Morrison's voice intervened. "Mr. Brown, you may come forward." Kody slowly stood, every step toward the witness stand, applauding one as if he were moving through quicksand. He took the oath, his voice a hoarse whisper. His attorney walked up to him. "Mr. Brown, the evening your son passed away, where did you happen to be?" Kody cleared his throat. "Home, alone." The silence that ensued seemed to go on forever, until Janelle's attorney walked forward. "Mr. Brown, do you know what this is?" The attorney produced a single photograph. Kody's eyes darted, his jaw clenched. It was a photo of him, outside a dark motel, shortly after midnight, the evening Garrison died. The attorney's tone was a knife. "And do you deny that this timestamp establishes you were here, not at home, when your son was dying?" Kody moved, his lips opening, but nothing emerged. The jury leaned forward. The audience strained their necks. At last Kody spoke. "I can explain." But Janelle stood up, cutting her off. Her voice was icy. "No, you can't explain this away anymore. For years you blamed everyone else. Christine, me, even Garrison himself. But you were the one hiding the truth." Robin, who sat behind Kody, then covered her face with her hands. Christine's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. The judge brought up his gavel. Order in the court. The jury retired to deliberate. Each second was an eternity. When they came back, the foreman stood. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Kody Brown."
Oh.
He looked at Kody, then at Janelle. "Guilty." The gallery gasp was like a bell ringing. As Kody was taken away in handcuffs, he glanced back at Janelle, his tone low but venomous. "This isn't over. You think you've won, but you've just made the biggest mistake of your life." Janelle did not blink. "Maybe. But at least now, the truth is out." The gavel came down. Court adjourned. Outside, the media descended. Questions flew like bullets. Janelle didn't respond to any of them. She just headed for her car, the folder of evidence still clutched in her hand, aware that within its pages was one final secret that she hadn't shared, and perhaps she never would.